Okay. Well, hello everyone and welcome. Thanks for being here. I'm Erica Lycan and I'm the co-founder of the People's Coalition. Along with my fellow co-founder Rima Mohammed, we'd like to welcome you and thank you for being here. If you're not familiar with us, we are a growing organization and movement founded in January of 2025. We are dedicated to uniting diverse communities, advocating for justice, equity, and sustainability. One of the ways we can change what is broken and address systemic inequities in Michigan is by voting for and electing candidates who are determined to work for the benefit and betterment of Michiganders. The governor is a crucial leadership role in Michigan. Getting to hear from different candidates for governor gives us a chance to get to know them, where they're coming from, and their experience and intentions if elected. So, if you're new to us and you'd like to get more involved, we'll be putting some links in the chat here shortly, as we'd love to have you join us and jump in more. I will mention too that doing this work, of course, takes a lot of people power and volunteer hours, but it also does to have some financial costs. So if you're able to contribute or donate whatever you can, I will put that link in the chat too. But either way, we're glad to have you with us. Because we have a lot to ask in a limited amount of time, we will not be pitching additional questions from the audience to our guest tonight. We have the group chat closed so we can focus on our conversation this evening. Um, we have Jocelyn Benson, who is our candidate this evening, and she has 2 minutes to respond to each question that we pose. So, Jocelyn, thanks so much for being with us tonight. And as your opening statement, we'd love to have you introduce yourself, and if you could please answer, what are your top priorities as governor if elected? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me here tonight. I'm really excited to be here with you in this critical moment for our state, for our future, for the values that we care about, and for what our democracy is supposed to be, and who it's supposed to be for. I think for me, I'm really proud to be running for governor in a battleground state like Michigan at this critical moment, in a very dark moment for our country and for our democracy. And I think in this moment, it's really important that we as leaders and all of us remember who we are, why we're in this, and who we're fighting for, and our responsibility on behalf of those we're fighting for to get stuff done. And our responsibility to call out the reason why we too often can't get stuff done, real stuff like affordable health care and transformational investments in education and transit and a real economy that works for everyone, gives everyone a fair shot to succeed. The reason why we don't have that right now isn't just because our democracy is under attack, but the entire system is broken. And I've seen it firsthand as a leader in the state. We have to fix the way our government runs, which is right now very tilted for the few, at the abandonment of the many. Too often, our government only works for the people at the top and not for everyone else. And the entire reason I got into politics is because I wanted to break that system and rebuild it in a way that actually fulfills the goals of so many of those who've come before us, of actually ensuring that our economy, our political system, our educational system is truly accessible and available to all. So as Michigan Secretary of State, I worked to take my one part of a broken system, a Secretary of State office that was bureaucratic and unusable for many, and actually make it work. And also take our elections, which were ranked 31st in the nation when I took over. Oftentimes we had turnout statewide under 50%, and actually flip that in partnership with citizens across the state who amended our state constitution to put new laws in place to make sure our elections are actually accessible to all. And I'm really now proud that our elections are the best in the country. We have seen back to back highest turnout elections in our state's history and have led the nation in youth vote turnout, even in this challenging moment for our democracy, because we've worked to build coalitions and get stuff done. And right now, our Secretary of State office reflects that same thing. Our office saves Michiganders time, saves them money, makes their lives a little bit easier. And at a time where government is right now showing up everywhere we don't want it and nowhere where we actually need it, I'm really proud that as a statewide leader in Michigan, we've been able to flip that and actually show that this massive government agency and our voting and democracy systems can work for everyone in a way that meets people where they are, shows up when you need us, and then gets out of the way. And so to me, I'm running for governor because I know how to not just talk about these important issues, about progressive issues, about a government that works for everyone, but I've actually learned how to do it, to actually take a broken system and fix it. And as a progressive, as a Democrat, I got into this not just for platitudes, not just to talk about a vision, but to actually get it done. And in this moment where there is so much chaos and corruption and cruelty happening at the federal level, we need governors who can win on our issues and then actually get stuff done to further those issues, to further those promises, and restore people's faith that government can be something that works for you. And for me, I want Michigan to be the best place in the country to call home for my family and for yours, for everyone's. But right now, we have work to do to make that happen. Right now, in Michigan, people are struggling. They're struggling to buy a home, struggling to find jobs in their chosen field, worried about whether or not their kids are going to get a good education, worried that too often they're one catastrophic illness away from bankruptcy. And in that moment, we see all of those struggles playing out where you've got a presidential administration that's been in office for less than a year that is making things worse with these chaotic, corrupt, and cruel policies that put our privacy, our safety, and our fundamental freedoms at risk. So right now, the people who can fight back against all of that and fight for a Michigan that actually works are statewide leaders who know how to navigate the system, fix what's broken, and get things done, and fix the broken system that runs our state and make it a place where everyone has a fair shot to make it and thrive. And that's what the choice will be in 2026. This race will come down to whether or not we are going to have leaders that are owned by corporations or owned by Donald Trump, or whether the state is going to be run by a governor as a Democrat who will proudly ensure that the government of Michigan works not for the wealthy and powerful, but for the people. And that's who I'll be as governor. I'm going to work tirelessly every day, just like I've done as Secretary of State, to ensure that every Michigander knows, no matter where they live, that I work for them and that we live the principle that I have founded my life on, which is that the power of the people must always and will always be greater than the people in power when we choose to harness it. And the way that that looks in Michigan, the way that translates into the leadership that I'll bring as governor, is that we need to start by ending corruption in our politics. We need to end dark money. We need to end undisclosed corporate influence. We need to end secret backroom deals. And that's why, as governor, I want to sign into law the BRIGHT Act and a number of other policies that will make Michigan the strongest transparency and ethics driven state in the country. And then we have to take every dollar in our state budget and invest it in people, making sure Michigan is an affordable place, that we are reforming how we build homes so that farmers and teachers and nurses can actually buy a house in the communities where they're looking. We reform auto insurance so that it's not cost prohibitive to drive in the state. We expand well-paying union jobs and training programs so that every Michigander can get access to the training that they need to thrive and have a job that they want. We've talked about also in our agenda ensuring every Michigander has access to quality, affordable healthcare, that we expand programs like RX Kids to provide support for every new parent so that no child has to live in poverty anywhere in the state. I want to make childcare free for working families, free, just like governors in New Mexico and in other states are working to do, because I've seen firsthand as a mom how far too many moms have to choose between paying for childcare and paying their electric bill. We need to ensure every Michigander has access to clean, affordable, and safe drinking water. And we need to continue our investments in public education to build a world-class system that ensures that we're preparing our kids for the jobs of tomorrow and ensuring real accountability and support for our educators and for our kids. And I've said I'll work with anyone to get this done. I know how to get this done. I'm only in this to rebuild or to perfect it, to get it done. But I will do all of it by doing what also we need to do here in Michigan, which is be prepared to stand up to anyone, no matter how wealthy, no matter how powerful, would stand in the way of our citizens and our rights and our freedoms and our democracy. Because what you need from the next governor of Michigan is not just someone who can make our economy work better and our government work better, but who will stand up to Donald Trump and all the bullies in the White House when they're coming for our freedoms, when they're coming for our democracy, when they're coming to in violation of our Constitution, to take people out of their homes in violation of due process laws. I'm the only one who is running for governor who has actually stood up to Trump and won effectively and continue to do so every day of my current job. And that is what you need from the next governor in a moment where governors are the guardrails for everything that we stand for. So I'm excited to talk with you all tonight about the power we have when we stand up for each other, what a real progressive governor who wins and gets stuff done can do and transform this battleground state. And I'm here to also hear from you and work with you in a very collaborative way and build an agenda and a vision for our state that will uplift everyone, ensure no kid is in poverty, and make sure our schools and our economy are less than a nation. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. Um, so we do have a set of questions, and they're really coming from many of our viewers and people who've registered for this forum and others related to the governor forums. So the first question we have is involving fascism and authoritarianism. And just so we can get through the questions, these are issues that a lot of people here want to hear about. To try to limit it to 2 minutes, just so that we can get through some of these very, very important issues. One of them is about, again, fascism, authoritarianism. So if ICE carried out raids in Michigan cities, as they recently did in Chicago and Los Angeles, how would you act as governor to defend Michigan resident rights? And obviously, we are seeing that here as well. So we'd love to hear your answer, and if we can, limit it to 2 minutes if we can.
Yes. Can you guys see me okay as well? I'm trying. I
It's
don't know if I'm
it. I think
frozen.
it blacked out,
Okay.
but we can definitely hear you. So
Okay,
don't worry.
good.
I know you're probably in a odd place, but yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear you
driving across
definitely.
Michigan. Okay.
No
Well,
problem.
all right. I'll keep me just say something if everyone's moving again, so I can see you guys now. Okay. So Vice carried out raids in Michigan cities. This is exactly as governors are showing across the nation why it's so important to have governors who won't bend the knee to Trump. And as governor, I won't bend the knee. I haven't bent the knee as Secretary of State, even when it's meant that I've been personally threatened and people have come to my home with guns and all the rest. I'm sure you've all heard the stories. I know what it takes and what it really takes to put your life on the line to stand up to this president. And I'm not afraid to do so. In fact, I proudly do so. And as governor, I'll stand up for our communities proudly, no matter what it takes. And I will not enable attacks on them. I believe law-abiding immigrants are our neighbors, our coworkers, our community members, and we benefit and grow and thrive by supporting our immigrant communities and making sure that they are safe and that we use every tool in our toolbox to protect Michiganders' rights and every resident's rights. That means ensuring state police don't participate in raids and providing legal support for families who are targeted by unlawful federal overreach. As the former dean of a law school, worked with clinicians and others on immigration issues and have seen also how important it is that legal support is truly available for residents throughout our state. And I had a chance over the summer to visit Treetops Collective in Grand Rapids, where I was today, and where I heard a presentation from a few of the immigrants who are in Grand Rapids, who are contributing in extraordinary ways to the local economy and making the community stronger. It was such a beautiful celebration of everything that makes us truly great here in Michigan, and really underscored to me what communities can look like when we are inclusive and we don't do unnecessary harm that hurt us all to people who are just trying to thrive, like all of us here tonight. So it's very deeply ingrained in my heart to stand up for all of our communities in our state, keep everyone safe, and I'll take on anyone, no matter how wealthy or powerful, who would try to rip away those freedoms or otherwise hurt our residents.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Thanks so much, Jocelyn. I have the next question. which is related to marginalized communities a bit more, so I think it dovetails well. We have seen outright attacks and targeting on immigrant communities, LGBTQ rights, Black and Brown communities who continue to face discrimination, hate crimes, and systemic inequities. As governor, what concrete steps will you take to protect these communities and their rights and ensure Michigan is a state where everyone can live safely and freely? Let me see here. I might need to reiterate that question. I think Jocelyn is rejoining us. There we go. Jocelyn, we can see that you're back. Sorry about that. Let me ask you to unmute here.
Sorry about that. All right,
No,
now you
it's all
can
right.
see.
Yes, I'm going to reiterate. I don't think you heard the question. Probably I'm going to
Yeah.
restate it if that's all right.
Okay. Yeah, please do.
Cool. So, we have seen outright attacks and targeting on immigrant communities, LGBTQ rights, Black and Brown communities who continue to face discrimination, hate crimes, and systemic inequities. As governor, what concrete steps will you take to protect these communities, their rights, and ensure that Michigan is a state where everyone can live safely and freely?
Well, it starts by making sure that every single one of our agencies knows how important it is to keep people safe, to stand up and engage communities that have been disengaged and have been under attack in policymaking, in lawmaking, so that we can make sure no matter who you are, no matter who you love, no matter where you live in the state, that you know that the government and the governor are on your side. I've done this as Secretary of State, overseeing our democracy at a time when so many communities have been under attack, have been impacted by very strategic efforts to diminish their ability to participate in our elections. What I've done as Secretary of State and what I'll do as governor is show up in those communities, sit down with folks who are impacted, whether it's around licensing, as we've done as Secretary of State, or around voting, and make sure we are doing everything we can to meet people where they are, and develop very specific policies that will help people thrive, afford to live in our state, travel safely in our state, and ensure that you can get a well-paying job and have opportunity to grow and raise a family here, knowing that some of the best success stories of growth in our state, of growing communities, are from immigrant communities and others who have too often been marginalized, when at the same time they need to be centered in our state around our policies. So as governor, I'll be making sure that our policies are people centered and are centered around the needs of communities in every aspect of our state, from our rural communities to our LGBT communities, to our urban communities. And just as I've worked to make sure no matter where you live, you can get access to effective state services and elections and ballot box that where your voice can be heard and you can trust the results of the election. We'll do the same for healthcare, for schools, for housing, for energy costs, for water affordability, and a number of other things that are actually impacting all of us in a way that holds us all back. And instead make sure we're investing in policies that uplift all those communities and make life affordable for everyone.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jocelyn, for that response. The next question's about campaign finance and transparency. So, what has your personal approach been on accepting corporate or large PAC donations for your governor campaign now or in the future leading up to the election? How would you use your role as governor to address corporate and special interest groups and their influence on electeds and decisions regarding legislation, funding, and other state related businesses? I know that's
Well,
a lot.
yeah, but as I mentioned, when you look at why, for example, do we have the highest auto insurance rates in the nation? Why do we have some of the highest energy bills in the nation here in Michigan? Just follow the money. I've seen it firsthand. When too often lawmakers have been given an opportunity to pass real ethics and transparency laws, or laws that would hold companies accountable that are driving up our rates, they choose not to do so, in part because they are often beholden to the very special interests that they're supposed to regulate or stand up to. So in this campaign, just like my other statewide campaigns, I've been committed to making sure, because I believe you campaign as you govern, that our campaign is going to be powered by people. I have not taken a cent from corporate PACs, and we've instead been able to raise a significant amount of money, more than anyone else is running for governor on any side of the aisle, from people. 35,000 individuals have invested in our campaign and have donated to my campaign for governor. And 95% of those donations are under $100. And, in addition to that, a lot of progressive lawmakers from Dylan McDowell to Emily Devendorf and many others, mayors of Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids, are supporting our campaign to really represent our coalition of working people that will stand. These are lawmakers who have stood up against corporate interests, who are siding with us and on our team because they know that I've been a leader who will not take corporate tech money, but will sign into law some of the strongest transparency and ethics laws in the nation, because we cannot ensure our state and our policymakers are making laws in furtherance of the people if they're funded by corporations. We have to ensure we're disclosing corporate money, that we're ending those backroom deals I spoke about earlier, and that we're instead making it possible for our lawmakers to simply govern for the people, not for corporate or special interests.
Thank you for that.
Great. I have the next question. So it's Michigan working families are struggling with rising costs, stagnant wages, and shrinking safety nets. What is your economic agenda to build a sustainable standard of living for all Michiganders, and how will public support programs fit into your vision for economic stability and dignity?
My economic agenda, my economic vision is about investing in people, period. I think too often we're investing in corporations, tax breaks, and the like, and not investing in people and actually building a workforce through investing in educational opportunities, apprenticeship programs, and communities, placemaking, so that people can actually live and work in the community, in the same community. And all of that requires us to have an economic vision that is people-centered, not corporate-centered. Michigan created the middle class and put the world on wheels. And as I go around the state, it's very clear to me that we have seen too many economic policies not focused on investing in people, and instead simply focused on tax cuts and tax breaks that'll bring corporations here without actually investing in an economy that truly is working for people. And so it starts with making sure our economy is affordable for all, making housing affordable, ending utility monopoly control, and lowering energy bills for working families, making childcare free, investing in workers who care for our kids by opening childcare centers, providing healthcare access, and really ensuring that we're creating good paying jobs that will be a part of Michigan's future, and diversifying our economy as well, so that there are jobs in multiple industries in addition to our skilled trades and manufacturing, so that we can build good paying union jobs in our state, that people have access to, and invest in a workforce that will help us fill those jobs with talent that will attract those employers to our state, but do so in a way that was people driven, not corporate driven.
Great. Thank you so much.
So I have the next question. It's about environment and energy impacts. And so what would you do as governor to limit the corporate and institutional expansion, such as data centers and factories, and associated negative outcomes related to these expansions, especially in vulnerable areas? And how would you hold these companies and institutions accountable? And just to add, this is something that I've seen. I live in Pittsfield, and, hearing a lot of news of what's happening even locally in Ipsy Township and Saline Township. So it is something personal to me as well. But yeah, how would you hold these companies and institutions accountable?
Well, it starts by creating regulations, clear regulations that would govern whether or not a data center is able to come here at all. And that starts with saying, look, data centers, we get that they are, new technological opportunities that create union jobs, but we cannot have them anywhere in our state if they drain our resources or raise costs for Michiganders. So that means banning any data centers from being built here that would use our water, period. We have 20% of the world's fresh water. We cannot allow it to be abused or misused to further data centers. And we know it's possible. The technology exists to operate data centers without using our water. We have to require that of any data center that would want to operate in Michigan. And then secondly, we have to ensure that any data center that comes to Michigan is operating under a power purchase agreement that guarantees they won't lead to increased energy costs or the raising of rates for Michiganders. And then we hold them accountable once we set those guardrails. You can't use our water. You can't drive up our energy rates. And we hold them accountable by saying, if you do either, you can agree to do it to get built. But if you do either of them throughout your time of operating in Michigan, we're going to shut you down. And to make that clear and unequivocal in our laws and empower our state government to ensure that's enforced. To get there, we have to not only pass that law, but then throughout the development process, we have to ensure full transparency and public input on all data center projects statewide. And that would involve mandatory disclosure of the impact that they would have, not just on water and energy, but the entire infrastructure in the state, so that citizens have the opportunity at the local and state level to weigh in a public comment period before any contracts are approved or any building starts. And that we also involve organizations from League of Conservation Voters and many others as part of the process throughout, and perhaps even require that they be involved at the local and state level in the development period, so that you're building in citizen input every step of the process. But we have to be clear and unequivocal about those water and energy guardrails. And say, if you want to build a data center in Michigan, you have to meet these requirements in our state or else look elsewhere.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Great. I have the next question. I'm going to share it in the chat here too. Too many Michiganders, especially those in rural areas and communities of color, struggle to access affordable, quality healthcare. As governor, what is your plan to address healthcare access and ensure that no one in Michigan has to choose between their health and their financial survival?
Yeah, this is life or death for far too many folks that I've spoken with who've expressed worries in nearly every community conversation I have at every community in the state, whether they be red, blue, or purple, that they are one catastrophic injury or major illness away from bankruptcy. Just tonight, I was talking to someone in Grand Rapids who once had 30 years ago, had a $450,000 healthcare bill because of surgery that he needed to have when he was in college. And what saved him from bankruptcy, because he only ultimately had to pay his copay of $500, what saved him was healthcare coverage. And so we have to ensure, especially in an age of Medicaid cuts, where hundreds of thousands of Michiganders are at risk of losing their Medicaid, that we are bringing healthcare directly to communities and ensuring that you have a state Health and Human Services department that is working on filling those gaps and ensuring coverage, and also working with other governors around the country, because many governors throughout the Midwest are dealing with these same types of challenges, to develop economies of scale, because healthcare and hospitals oftentimes know no boundaries, so that we're sharing resources and leveraging those resources and returning those protections to our residents. Our healthcare system right now far too often is making decisions based on profits and not based on what patients and physicians need for care. And so we also have to hold healthcare corporations accountable when they're driving up the cost of healthcare, driving up insurance rates, and instead ensure we are rewarding and encouraging patient-driven healthcare decisions at every level in our healthcare community. All of this requires a Department of Health and Human Services to function effectively. And I want to take the same approach to our DHHS that I did to transforming our Secretary of State office, and ensure that right now, while the system is too complicated, too outdated, and too disconnected from people to actually work effectively, that we apply data-driven, people-centered reforms to DHHS that will actually work for patients and providers, and build an internal infrastructure at that agency to, for example, ensure eligible Michiganders don't lose their Medicaid or SNAP access when Washington threatens cuts. And then apart from all of that, in addition to all of that, we'll continue to work with our federal lawmakers to argue for a restoration of those Medicaid cuts and to seek other ways to support that funding, because we have to ensure we are doing everything we can at the state level to get healthcare coverage for every resident in this state.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
So I have the next question. It's about, free speech and student protests. So in the past 2 years in particular, students, faculty, and community protesters advocating on current issues such as Palestine, DEI, rollbacks, anti-fascism across the country have been prosecuted, doxxed, surveilled, disciplined without due process, and targeted by state and federal governments for their participation in these peaceful protests. As governor, how will you address attacks on freedom of speech and academic expressions on Michigan's campuses?
As governor, I will always stand up proudly for the freedoms of every single one of our campus residents and campus communities. I will always stand up for and protect free speech on college campuses. And I say this as someone who, as a college student, was very active in those same types of discussions where we need to be coming together and learning from each other, seeing each other, hearing each other, sharing stories. That's something that is, I think, pivotal and critical for development on those unique campus communities where we do all come together from all walks of life and should be able to learn to see each other, hear each other, express ourselves free of worry, of censorship, which right now, the attacks on academic freedom and on student free speech and free speech on college campuses are antithetical to everything that educational environments are actually supposed to be. So to me, I think we should be celebrating free speech on campuses. I think we should be celebrating when young students are learning, speaking out, engaging with difficult issues, because in those critical moments of our lives and in this moment of history, we need those campus communities to be places where academic freedom and free speech are protected freely, and people are not afraid to speak out for what they believe in and feel and know that as governor, I will protect them for doing so every step of the way. Similarly, I will not weaponize state power to silence students or punish universities for allowing free, nonviolent expressions. Our colleges and universities have to be places for learning and debate, not censorship. As a teacher, as a daughter of teachers, as a mom, and also as a former law school administrator, I've seen firsthand how important it is to be unequivocal and clear in protecting our students, and by doing so, protecting everyone's ability to speak freely and share their opinions so that we can function together and learn how to hear and listen to each other.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Great. I have our last question before closing statements. So, in your role as a statewide elected official, how do you see your responsibility to respond both to statewide and global issues related to Gaza, Sudan, Congo, and related struggles for liberation?
My focus as governor is going to always be on Michiganders and on the communities in our state when they are being impacted by global events, making sure that I'm standing with them, seeing their pain, and using the tools in my toolbox as governor to help make their lives easier here in our state and ensure their safety for being who they are and living in the communities that they live in. As I've said recently in Dearborn, when you come for Dearborn, you come for Michigan. Do not, all for one and one for all is my approach to governing and will be my approach to making sure every community in this state feels protected and supported, even as global strife unfolds. And whether it's families afflicted by conflicts abroad or those impacted by reckless tariffs that are disrupting our economy overseas, or federal policies that are going to harm Michiganders. And we're seeing all of those things and have seen all those things in the last several years. I will respond based on how those issues actually touch people here at home. And for Michigan communities that do want to speak out, I'll commit to protecting them, protecting their ability to do so, protecting their speech and their right to speak out, to protest and advocate for change. But I'll do all this while keeping I focus on concrete steps I can take as governor to improve our economy and improve lives here in Michigan. Healthcare, schools, homes, communities, roads, transit, everything we need to thrive to ensure that when you choose to live in Michigan, you're choosing to live in a state that is the best place to call home in this country, no matter who you are or where you come from.
Thank you.
So thank you
You
so
want
much for that. Yeah, I'm on. Sorry, it took a minute to unmute. But thank you so much for responding to our questions. But now we're at the closing statement. So you have 2 minutes to make, whatever closing statement that you want to share with us.
Thank you, Rima. Well, I want to say three things in closing. The first thing I want to say is that this is my fourth statewide campaign. And every step of the way, I've worked to ensure that we're building campaigns where people of all backgrounds are heard and are part of what we're building. But also, I've never wavered from standing for the progressive issues that got me into politics to begin with, starting with my time in Selma, Alabama, where I was moved to get into politics at all based on my commitment to furthering the work of those who stood at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge in March of 1965 and marched forward to ensure that we had a Voting Rights Act that promised economic and political equality for everyone, and a Civil Rights Act that worked to do the same for education. We as Democrats, since those times, have often abandoned those values that made us the progressive party that we are in furtherance of being bought out sometimes by corporate interests or wealthy funders. But I'm not in this to serve corporate interests and wealthy funders. I'm in this to serve the people. And knowing that, it is just as important that we stay true to those values, the idea that we all do better when we all do better, while also winning our races and getting things done once we do. Because what good is any of this work if we're not actually taking our ability as governors, as leaders, and to get stuff done and then getting stuff done for the people. So knowing that this race is going to come down to likely a Democratic nominee, Republican nominee, and a third party independent candidate, I'm the only part of those three that will be committed to advancing a progressive agenda. And that's why I already have the support of the most progressive members of the state legislature. So I'm committed to being a governor who will work every day to ensure our citizens' rights and freedoms are protected, that our economy is one in which everyone can thrive, whether you live in Detroit or whether you live in Muskegon or whether you live in Flint or whether you live in Dearborn. I want Michigan to be a state that ensures that no matter who you are or where you come from, who you love or what religion you are, you can live and raise a family in safe communities, and that we build a state where everyone knows this is their home and they are welcome here. But I need your help to do that. I'm not always going to get everything right. I'm not always going to say the right things or do everything you need, but that's where you come in, holding me accountable, talking and being a part of our coalition so that we can ensure we are building a message that is backed by actions, that is backed by results, and an agenda overall that lifts every boat and ensures all of our voices are centered at the table. So thank you for having me here tonight. I'm dedicated to this work, to winning this campaign, but then to governing in a way that truly adheres to our democratic values of equity, of inclusion, of ensuring that we have an economy and a democracy that works for everyone.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. We truly, truly appreciate it. Especially these are key issues that really are important to all of us. So really, really appreciate you making the time to talk to us. And, thank you again. I know you're a very busy person, but it does mean a lot that you made this time. And then thank you all for the guests for joining us via Zoom. We truly hope that you found this very, very valuable. This will be recorded, or it is recorded. So if you know someone who hasn't joined us and wants to hear what Jocelyn has to say, please do share that. We will be posting it in the next few days. And as you have also seen, that we did endorse several candidates, mainly for the convention races right now, but we are hoping to endorse in the governor race soon. But for our endorsed candidates, we have endorsed Ellie Sabat for Attorney General, as well as Agogo Xavier for Secretary of State. Remember, these are convention races, and it's very important to register as an MDP member by March 19th and to be at the MDP convention on April 19th in Detroit to vote for these candidates in these races and more. We have some links that will be in the chat to be able to mobilize with us and sign up for updates. Also, there are a few upcoming events I wanted to share with everyone. One is we are going to do a Convention 101 info and prep session that will be January 20th from 6:30 to 8:30. The information will be shared in chat. We'll also have a candidate meet and greet with special guest Rashida Tlaib. It will be on January 25th from 2 to 4 in Dearborn. So this will be in person, but hope to see many of you there. And then, like I said, we are mobilizing for the MDP convention. So please, again, save the date on April 19th in Detroit, and we have the forum posted there. Um, we are, this is a coalition, and it does take many of us to be involved in it. So please, 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 sign up if you want to volunteer or help build some of these events, as well as being able to mobilize for the MDP convention. Um, you can follow us on social media. We do have an Instagram account and Facebook. If you want up to date action items, calls to action, as well as events that are coming up. And then please, again, I know that money is limited these days, but, please, if you do consider donating even a small amount to these efforts, such as these forums, but also mobilizing for key convention races as well as other statewide races. So if you can support us, we would really appreciate it. But again, thank you so much for Jocelyn for being here and for everyone for being here. And please follow us if you need more information. But thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you
Take care.
so much.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Have a good night.